Alright, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Border Radio 1987. I hate this flick. I give it 1 out of 5 stars. It's in glorious black and white, which is about the only good thing going about it. The print is in terrible shape. This was co-directed by Allison Anders when she was attending UCLA. The first time I saw Allison Anders was in American Grindhouse. She was just mumbling stuff about how great all her movies were, none of which I had seen up to that point. So it was conceited stuff coming out of her mouth that I didn't really pay much attention to until I saw this movie, and it's about a couple of punk rockers, Chris D and John Doe. I don't know much about the punk scene in LA during the mid 80s. I was more into the Seattle punk scene in the during the early 90s, as well as the People's Republic of Berkeley punk scene in the early 90s. So I really didn't know much about these bands, and the music didn't sound too good, honestly. They all have normal haircuts, like normal 80s haircuts, instead of mohawks and stuff. I did see a flyer for DOA. I've heard of DOA, but other than that, all these esoteric bands in this movie I never heard of. So Chris D is married with one kid. He hooks up with this other punk rocker, unemployed punk rocker, John Doe, and some dude named Chris. Some spoiled young kid who's like a groupie or something. All three of them decide to rob the club safe because, according to them, they didn't get their fair share of the spoils for playing that night. And so Chris steals the combination, and they take $1,000 out of the safe. Then, for no apparent reason, Chris D, not the other groupie Chris, but the Chris D, he goes to Mexico, abandons his family, pretty much, and then Chris is humping on the other Chris is humping on Chris D's wife the whole time he's in Mexico. So the mother's not spending too much time with her daughter. The daughter is played by Allison Anders, real daughter. And they, right when they go to Mexico looking for Chris D, he comes back home looking for them. And he says he's risking his life, but he doesn't say why or how. That's pretty much the movie. I mean, there's a bunch of interviews in between, a bunch of banal scenes, people smoking cigarettes, drinking beers and stuff, drinking hard liquor, and getting drunk, going to punk shows. forget the name of the punk club that they go to, but anyways, the the movie's like watching a really bad Godard flick, and the music's not that great. I was hoping for better music, but anyways, like I said, it's really esoteric stuff. Allison Anders said that John Doe was signed by Enigma, and the soundtrack is also Enigma. I know they started out with $2,000, and they ended up probably with 80,000 to make this movie. Although most of it probably came from Enigma, who did the soundtrack for this movie. Los Lobos are also on the soundtrack. So, not a great flick. People say it has great cinematography. I suppose that's why it's on Criterion disc. But I really couldn't speak to that. I mean, the cinematography isn't that great if the movie print is in horrible shape. And anyways, I'm watching The Brain Machine from 1977. So I'll let you know how that goes. It started out pretty slow, but I haven't watched the entire thing, so it might surprise me later. We'll see. Then I got Brainwaves in my P.O. box. I haven't had time to go pick it up there in Burlingame Post Office. But that's what I have on tap for this weekend. So I'll try to get those 2 reviews in. Of course, I've got Naked Gals of the Wild West, 1962, that I started watching. That looks pretty lame. So not much exciting in my Netflix queue or on YouTube's, but try to get through these reviews, and then I'll start watching David Carradine movies again. I got Legend, Autumn, and I can't remember the name of the other ones. I know there's a really bad looking zombie flick, which is probably so bad that it's good, from 2009 with David Carradine. So I'm looking forward to that, but that's farther down the list for next week. And that's the end of my review. Take a 1-hour nap and have some quick rice-a-roni. Laters.